I always say, I really do believe that stories change the world. I mean, we have an entire book here full of stories that have changed all of our lives and so many of your lives. And God is gracious to leave us with the stories of these people that we can learn from and see from. One of the things that I've always noticed is that when we become vulnerable with our own personal stories, people around us can go, okay, if she has overcome that, if she's gotten through that, if God has walked with her through that, then I trust that He can do the same for me. The thing that I want all of you to know that are watching this is that all of us that you're watching, we have a public platform. We lead ministries. We're pastors and speakers and authors and podcasters. But that doesn't make us special to be able to be vulnerable with you, with our stories. God has just put this in front of us this way. But I believe that everyone that is watching this, everyone that's hearing our voices, you have people in your lives that need to hear your story. They need to hear the things that God has done in your life. Because when we sit across the table from someone in coffee and we tell them, here's what I've struggled with, here's where I've been, here's what I've done, and let me tell you about the God who's been faithful to me the whole time. That is how lives are changed. When we can show people the faithfulness of the Father in the midst of our unfaithfulness and our chasing our own flesh desires and the places that we've been and the things that we've done and the things that have been done to us, how has God still shown up and be faithful? People need to hear that. I also think that we have this unique ability with the story and the life that we have lived to impact others who might be dealing with that. Nona's story that she might share publicly is different than my story. And the thing that's so great about that is that people are going to be hearing her story who can relate more to what she's been through and what she's had to walk through than they can me. And I say, praise God that Nona is speaking about her story so that those people can see what God has done in their own personal life. I remember probably about 10 years ago, before I was a podcaster, before I'd written a book, before I had done anything that my life looks like now, I was blogging on my blog, and I had a series where I wrote letters to my younger self. You know, some of them were silly, like, don't worry, you're going to make it past that awful haircut. But some of them were also quite serious. And I wrote one time and I said that, that God was going to use me in spite of my sin. And when I was in college, before I was following Jesus, I was living a very sexually active lifestyle, and I ended up getting pregnant and had a miscarriage. And then when I became an adult and was following Jesus and married to a pastor, I, for some reason, thought that that part of my life disqualified me from ministry, or that part of my life made me less than, or that part of my life meant that God couldn't use me. And what I found out that we've talked about in previous episodes is that God uses us right where we are. Well, I wrote about this, and a woman from my own church, she sent me a message and she said, I've never told anyone about an abortion that I had when I was in college. Never, no one, not even my husband, nobody. And she said, just reading your story and seeing that you have the confidence and where God's taken you and what He's done and how He's used you, it makes me feel like I can be open with my own story. And I'll never forget that conversation with her, because God used that moment to say, Jamie, I will use the hard parts of your life. I will use the struggles. I will use the moments that you wish no one knew about, and I will get glory from them. And I will use those for people to follow me and love me more. And I've never stopped doing that. I've never stopped doing it publicly, but I'll tell you where I do it most, guys. It's in my relationship with my girlfriends around coffee. Talking about, here's what God's doing in my life. Here's what He's showing me. Here's how I need Him more. And so you, wherever you are listening, you do not need to be on Better Together to talk about all things God's doing in your life. You get to do that within your own personal community right where you are. And God changes lives that way. He really, really does.
I hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe today and you'll never miss a new upload.
And don't forget to check out our Better Together shop. Thanks for being a part of our community.